And yes, do we have a show for you today? We have in the studio of Your Voice, Detroit Police Chief Warren Evans. Welcome to Your Voice. How you doing, Police Chief?
I'm doing fine this morning. How are you, Angela?
I'm doing fine. You all, we have the chats with the chief that we do here on Your Voice, and the timing is what it is. What is good is that you will be able to address some of the issues I think that people are concerned about, and that is just how people feel about crime right now. People feel as if they're under siege. With the gun violence, it seems like it's been a shooting every day for the last 20 days or something like that. It may not have been, but that's the feeling. We're talking about shootings and deaths and homicides, I think, more in the last 2 weeks than we ever have, including, you all have gone through a lot as officers. The community has gone through a lot. How would you describe where we are and how you feel about where we are?
Well, you ask an awful lot of questions.
I'm sorry, man.
Angela, but,
I'm sorry.
What at the end of the day we're supposed to be is one community. And I think most of the community has mourned the tragic loss of the police officer. And I think most of the community, all of the community, has mourned the tragic loss of the young lady.
Right.
The reality, when I took this job almost a year ago, was that the level of violence in the city was intolerable. I said that every opportunity I got. And I got actively involved in those cases where there were victims, particularly young children, to try to stay on top of those. I think two things have happened. One I know has happened, and that is in light of the instances that people are most focused on right now, the facts are that in the last year homicides have reduced in the city of Detroit, and the number of non-fatal shootings has reduced in the city of Detroit over 100. Now, that doesn't mean we're in great shape, but that does mean we're making progress in the right direction. And I think the other side of that is people are becoming more and more intolerant of the condition, which is violence, which is where people ought to be. I mean, that's what I've said for a year. We as a community don't need to tolerate this level of violence, and it's not something that the police can solve by themselves, but it's something we as a community ought to work towards. So. The righteous indignation people have about the level of violence, I think, is righteous, and it's one I've had all year.
Well, we want to kick off this story with the news of the day, which is about a $6.5 million cut that's being proposed by Detroit City Council targeting the Detroit Police. It is Angelo Henderson, host of Your Voice, and as I mentioned to you, we do have Police Chief Warren Evans in the studio. $6.5 million. We are told, is being reported, Chief, that the police department makes up 42% of the city's budget. When you hear what Council President Charles Pugh and also Pro Tem Gary Brown says, first of all, what's your take on the cut, and what's your reaction to how they feel like you can help solve this problem?
Well, I mean, this all emanates from massive budget trouble in the city, and I think everyone is trying to find solutions to get the city through the budget trouble. And obviously, my position on the budget is the mayor's position on the budget. We cannot afford to lose $6.5 million in a budget that has already been cut. I mean, one of the things is when you manage a department, this is not $6.5 million reduction from last year. This is $6.5 million reduction from the reduced budget we already sent over this year.
Okay.
We've reduced overtime by about 30%. I mean, we've managed to try to stay as fiscally responsible as we can and still get the job done. We would definitely lose police officers, certainly over 100 officers. And as I said, priority response times, that's just logical. If you lose 100 officers, your response time is going to go down. The response time is not what we need it to be now anyway. And when you talk about department priorities, I mean, there is no more prior department business than reducing violence in the city of Detroit. And that involves police officers. Understand, Angelo, our budget is 96.4% personnel. So, I mean, there are not other places. You can't take gas out of a police car to save the budget, and you can't not pay your rent.
Right.
So we are basically personnel, and obviously if you cut $6.5 million, you're going to lose a commensurate number of people.
Now, the argument's being made that there are people, more people need to get from behind desks. When you hear, for example, the arguments that were being made by Council Pro Tem President Gary Brown. What's your take on that, on as far as resources? I mean,
Well, there's no question but that there are a number of people in the police department, clerks, for example, who do jobs that are not street police jobs, but those
Okay.
have been collectively bargained sorts of issues. So you
Oh.
can't. I mean, that is the subject of bargaining, and when we go to the bargaining table, we're certainly going to fight to make some changes in that area. But Councilman Brown knows that's not something that we can do unilaterally.
because those are union jobs.
They're union jobs, and they are jobs that have historically been performed by police officers. And so now you must go before negotiations or an arbitrator and make the point that while they're historically jobs done by police, they could adequately be done by a civilian secretary and save the city money. I mean, I understand the argument, but that's not in play right now, and so there's no need to talk about it. I have moved over 100 officers, close to 150 officers from other duties to the streets in the last 10 months, and I'm still continuing to do that. There will be a transfer list next Monday that will move more people and readjust personnel from precincts to districts to give balance. I mean, we do that every day. We don't. There's nobody sitting around, not out on the street, that we have the ability to unilaterally move to the street.
So you're saying that these proposed cuts of $6.5 million would result in more than the loss of more than 100 officers on the street?
Yeah, that's correct. And I mean, it's just a simple math. If 96.4% of your budget is personnel, and you have to cut $6.5 million, it's coming out of personnel. And if it comes out of personnel, that's a reduction in personnel.
Well, I know one of the arguments you've made, and also has been supported by the Wayne County Sheriff Benny Napoleon, is that you don't have the numbers as in the past, as other police chiefs have had in the past, to even do what you're doing right now, right? Because of budget cuts, primarily.
Right. Yeah, and then
How many officers are you? I mean, how many officers do we have, and how many officers do you think that we really actually need in order to perform at the kind of level that you believe we need to perform it?
let me answer the last question first. 500 additional officers, I think, would give us some reasonable strength. Now, understand, 10 years ago, we had 1,000 more officers. Now, I'm saying with 500, reduction in population, other ways that we can go about policing, 500 would probably be reasonably adequate for us. But that's 500 more people than I have, and if we're going to cut 122, or whatever that number is, now it's not 500 officers I need anymore, but 600 and something, and that just is not something that we can do.
313, do you have any flexibility in the negotiations? I mean, or how locked in are you to the current rule system that exists?
Well, he makes a very good point, and we have, what he doesn't know is we've brought a number of light duty officers who were not working at all, restricted duty officers, back to work in a number of capacities, and miraculously, many of them were healed as a result and came straight back to work, if you can read between the lines there. So there obviously are some people who were not as sick, I guess, as might have been the case prior. So that has happened, and restricted duty people, if they're at work but on lighter duty, that's something we've looked at through medical to reevaluate the condition regularly. I mean, somebody put them on. I didn't put them on light duty. A doctor did.
Okay.
And so the ability to have them reevaluated to make sure that they are still subject to light duty is something we have ongoing. So we're trying in that capacity, and I absolutely understand his question and his frustration. But it is something that we have worked on and are continuing to money. But there's a COPS grant that has allowed me to hire 50 new officers funded by the federal government for a 3-year period. And it's interesting that you would say that, because obviously they're due to graduate next Friday from the police academy.
Oh, really? Okay.
And if these cuts happen, obviously they will have finished the academy and be the first to be laid off. And I'm hoping, obviously, it's the city administration's position that not happen, but that is obviously a possibility of concern, because I mean, I don't care how you cut this, a cut in the budget is going to reduce people, and in any organization that's unionized, the last to come are the first to go.